What's up, guys? And what seems to be a quasi-tradition here for the 2-Bit Review, I will be reviewing a DC game in April. I've done it a few times before, and it looks like I'm doing it again, and I'll probably do it some more in the future. April just feels like a Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman kind of month, I guess. So, as you guys know, in my last review, I promised I'd take a look at Batman Dark Tomorrow, and with a title like that, that would make even Zack Snyder blush. So, I can't wait to get into this game and find out how bad or maybe how good it is. So, without further ado, let's finish this unholy trilogy of DC superhero games in this review. Batman Dark Tomorrow is an action stealth platformer developed and published by Kemco for the GameCube and the original Xbox. It was released in North America in March of 2003. The game is based on the comic book Batman universe and not any of the movies or animated series, unlike Batman Vengeance, which was also on the same platforms. Dark Tomorrow was originally intended as a GameCube exclusive and began development in 2001, but probably because of the GameCube selling poorly, Kemco decided to make this a multi-platform game by the time it was finally released. It seems that Kemco had similar aspirations as Probe's Batman and Robin. They envisioned an open-world Batman game tied closely to the source material. What seems to be a common story in games I play from this era of gaming, a PS2 port was planned, but due to Dark Knight flopping on both the GameCube and Xbox, it was shit-canned. Batman Gotham Adventures writer Scott Peterson and Kenji Terada, a writer from Final Fantasy fame, collaborated to write the story for Dark Tomorrow. And when I say collab, I mean it in the thinnest of margins, as it appears that Peterson wrote the story by himself and sent it over to Kemco, who hired Terada to rework/revise the script into the game. With these tidbits finished, let's grab our utility belt and jump into this review. The game feels like it really wants to be Metal Gear Solid, right down to the minimap and camera angles. It, however, does not deliver the same gameplay experience. Controls are horrid. Where to begin? Let's start with the camera. Now, in Metal Gear Solid, the camera angles work pretty well, but in Dark Tomorrow, not so much. When the camera angle changes, so does the direction Batman moves in. This causes major disorientation and leads to errors beyond the player's control. The camera alone nearly breaks the game for most people, unless you're a masochist and enjoy painful situations. Like me. So, with the camera out of the way, let's move on to the controls. Ever played a game with precise controls like, say, Halo, Call of Duty, Dark Souls? Or for my retro pals, Mario, Street Fighter, etc., etc.? Well, imagine drinking a fifth of vodka and then playing any of those games. Yeah, that's right, that's what Dark Tomorrow feels like, sober. Batman controls floaty and has no momentum when he's jumping, which will lead to a lot of death drops. The combat is horrid too. The enemy AI is incredibly stupid. Even the boss fights take nearly no strategy to beat. All you have to do 98% of the time is spam kick the enemies. Once you master this, they will have a hard time killing you unless the game spams you with too many bad guys and not enough legs to kick them with. Which happens. A lot, actually. Some bosses require a little bit more finesse than a kick, but the spam kick is still a main part of taking them down. Trust me from experience, folks. So, Batman has his utility belt with items that you can use throughout the game. Problem is, most of the items are useless and you never really have to use them except for one item, and that item is the Bat Cuffs. You need them because bad guys, when they get knocked down by you, they're only knocked down for a short amount of time, and then they will get back up and commence beating on you. So you need to handcuff them so they don't get back up. That's what you use the bat cuffs for. So, with that being said, this makes fighting enemies in large numbers a big chore because you'll spend a lot of time knocking one out and going to handcuff them, but then you get punched by another guy, so you have to take him out. But then by the time you take him out, the other guy you knocked down gets back up. So there's a lot of rinse and repeat spammy bullshit going on here, which I guess is fair because all you really have to do is spam your kicks, but then again, the combat's broken and it's not fun. The game had stealth in mind when they developed it, but even when I tried to be stealthy, the enemy AI almost always auto-detected me, or if I got close enough for a stealthy knockout, the hit detection is so bad that I missed and then was detected by the bad guy. It is best just to run into a room with bat kicks flying. That's all I'm going to say about that. Another half-baked mechanic in this game is the bat grapple. You have to be 100% accurate with it, and even then, you may come up short. Batman does a weird flip jump when detaching from the grapple, and a few times he jumped in the opposite direction I was aiming towards. This led to a lot of deaths. You can tell they knew it wasn't fully functional because in the latter levels, they required this mechanic less and less and less. Level design is basic. You have large, medium, and small open areas, and some narrow areas as well. The levels are mostly sparsely populated with enemies to fight, but every now and then an area in a level will be packed with villains for you to fight. You can tell the game wasn't fully finished just by walking through the levels. There are quite a few empty dead-end areas throughout the game. I wonder, had the development team had more time and a budget, what could they have been able to deliver? So, with broken and shoddy gameplay, I give Batman Dark Tomorrow a half bit.
I'd buy that for $1.
Out of 4.
What happened to Commissioner Gordon?
Batman. You nearly gave
The sound quality is high-level stuff. The game has a fully orchestral music track that really fits the Batman style. Voice acting is good and sound effects are solid. Now, there are some odd line deliveries or sound effects, but I would put this game's quality up against a lot of modern games, and I think it would hold its own. A shame that the gameplay portion of this game failed so miserably because the sound is quite good. 3 bits.
I'd buy that for $1.
Out of 4. The game is hit and miss in presentation. The cutscenes look great, but when you get into the actual gameplay, not so much. Batman looks good, and some of his rogues gallery does too, but some of them look like dog shit compared to the CG video versions of themselves. Like I said in gameplay about the levels looking half-finished, the environments look that way too. While roaming the streets of Gotham and the halls of Arkham, you can see that some areas lack details. Now, it is one thing to have a port of a game that doesn't match up to its original release because of the system limitations. It's a whole other thing when the game has been developed from the ground up for the system and some areas have that finer detail and others not so much. The story is very good. Batman will run into quite a bit of his rogues gallery. You got Ra's al Ghul, Black Mask, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and the Joker. You also have some lesser-known ones like Zsasz, the Ratcatcher, and Scarface. You get to travel to quite a few locations in the Batverse. You got Gotham City, the League of Assassins, and Arkham Asylum. All of this 6 years before Rocksteady's Magnus Opus Batman game, Arkham Asylum. The basic rundown of our plot is this. Ra's al Ghul, his daughter Talia, and the League of Assassins manipulate Batman's rogues gallery of villains to distract the Bat so they can take control of a weaponized satellite that they will then use to end Gotham and the rest of the globe. Batman ends a gang war between Scarface and Black Mask, then heads over to Arkham to free a kidnapped Jim Gordon from the maniacal clutches of the Joker. Which, by the way, you never get to fight the Joker. I mean, you get to fight the entire rogues gallery except for the Joker. Here you just beat up some inmates and then you get a cutscene of the Joker mostly talking and then getting punched. I mean, you want me to be honest, you guys could have cut out the Ratcatcher fight and put a Joker fight in there. We would have been a lot happier. I mean, no offense to you, Ratcatcher, but the Joker's just a lot bigger and badder and cooler. I mean, he's only the greatest heel of the Batman franchise. Instead, he's left as a footnote in this story. Poor build and poor booking right here, like modern WWE wrestling. By this point, Rage reveals himself and his plan, prompting Batman to fly off to the League of Assassins / League of Shadows hideout to sabotage their satellite and defeat Ra's al Ghul. Several alternate endings are possible depending on whether or not you have sabotaged the super weapon before the final fight with Ra's. You can also lose to Ra's in the final fight and get a different ending. Basically, all endings are bad except for the one where Batman defeats Ra's al Ghul and sabotages his plans. The others involve Batman dying and watching Ra's continue his plan, or Batman being victorious, but Ra's al Ghul still activating his weapon and destroying the world. The multiple varied endings show me the dev team really did care about this game, either through lack of labor and resources or execution. The game is just incomplete. There is a solid story and in some areas solid visuals, but the presentation as a whole is incomplete. 1.5 bits
I'd buy that for $1.
out of 4.
Oracle.
What's happening? My monitors show that place looking like the 4th of July.
It's over. Ra's al Ghul has been defeated. It's all over. For now. Oracle, I'm coming home.
Wow, that was a game. I'll give it an A for effort because there were some aspects of this game that were really, I thought, good. Multiple endings, these big open areas to explore. It was almost an open world Gotham. It really seemed like a lot of developers had to fail for Rocksteady to succeed with their Arkham series. It really does feel that way. So, my final verdict for Batman Dark Tomorrow on the Nintendo GameCube and even the original Xbox is a recommended pass for the casual and hardcore collector. It really isn't that special unless you just want to have a half-baked, half-done game in your collection. I mean, more power to you. And for people who are tenacious enough to add this half-baked game to their collection, you can find it online for around $12 to $23 depending on its condition. And personally for me, I feel like that's too much given what you're getting out of it. It's probably more like a $10 game, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion, but I'm going to leave that there. And that ends our unholy trilogy of DC superhero games. I really enjoyed reviewing these games for you guys. I don't necessarily think I would ever pop these discs back in to play them, besides for you guys. Yeah, I'm not going back to them. They're not for casual fun. They're for people watching me be miserable play them. Yeah. And with that, we are not done. We still got more reviews for the rest of this year, and I can't wait to show them to you guys, but you're going to have to wait. So that's it for today, guys. Be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and ding the bell. That way you don't miss a thing we are doing here on the channel. And as always, stay safe and play on.